You've seen the videos, white sand beaches, crystal clear water, and a smiling local handing you a fresh coconut. You've heard the stories, right? Foreigners packing up their lives and heading to the Philippines, chasing a dream of a tropical paradise where the cost of living is supposedly a fraction of what it is back home. A life where you can live like royalty for pennies on the dollar. It's a powerful, intoxicating fantasy, and for many it's the only story they've been told. But the travel vlogs don't show you this. They don't show you the hours spent sitting in traffic that defies all logic, the government office that asks for a document that may or may not exist, or the sudden, unnerving silence of a power outage in the middle of a workday. Yes, a growing community of expats is moving here, chasing that dream. But what they find is a complex reality, a daily tightrope walk between incredible soul-filling highs and deeply frustrating lows. In this video, we're going beyond the drone shots. We're going to talk about what it's really like to move to the Philippines, why that dream is so seductive, and why the reality is so much more interesting. Before we get to why people fall head over heels for this country and decide to stay, we have to talk about the things that can make you want to pull your hair out. These are the realities that the glossy brochures and 10-minute travel vlogs conveniently forget to mention. The number one reason most people start looking at the Philippines is the cost of living. It's the dream of a tropical lifestyle that doesn't drain your bank account. And yes, your money can go a lot further here, especially when it comes to daily essentials and local experiences. A meal at a local spot can cost just a few dollars, and you'll find plenty of budget-friendly options all over the country. Even a beer overlooking the sunset won't break the bank, making it easy to enjoy the good life. But the idea that everything is universally dirt cheap is a myth, and it's important to know where the real savings are. While life here is generally more affordable than in many Western countries, there are still plenty of costs that can add up. The claim that it's up to 80% cheaper is a stretch that depends heavily on your lifestyle, your choices, and where you decide to settle. There's a massive difference between renting in a rural province where costs are low and life is simple, and living in a modern condo in Bonifacio Global City or Cebu IT Park, where prices can rival those in major cities. That high-rise apartment with a pool might be cheaper than in New York or London, but we're talking hundreds or even over $1,000 a month for a nice place in a prime Manila location, especially if you want modern amenities. Then there's the unwritten foreigner price or sunshine tax. It's not always malicious, but the assumption is often that if you're not from here, you're loaded and can afford to pay more. From tricycle fares to rental negotiations and even some services, you quickly learn the first price isn't always the real price, and bargaining becomes a necessary skill. So while life is more affordable and you can enjoy a higher quality of life for less, you have to be smarter and more patient than you might think, and always be ready to adapt to the local way of doing things. This is probably the single greatest test of patience for any foreigner moving here. And it's a rite of passage that everyone faces sooner or later. Things that are simple back home, like opening a bank account or getting a driver's license, or even just dealing with visas, can become epic sagas that test your resolve. The rules can seem vague and ever-changing. Requirements can change from one office to the next, sometimes even in the same day, and the whole process often moves at a pace that can only be described as relaxed, if not glacial. And let's talk about the big one. Property, which is a whole different maze. Let's be clear, if you're a foreigner, you cannot legally own land in the Philippines, no matter how long you stay. This is a constitutional rule and it's strictly enforced. You can, however, own a condominium unit, as long as foreign ownership in the building doesn't top 40% of the total units. You can also do a long-term lease, sometimes up to 50 years, or set up a corporation that is 60% Filipino-owned, which is the only legal workaround. But the dream of buying a plot of land and building your own house is, for most foreigners, just that, a dream. Navigating this takes lawyers, patience, and a willingness to accept setbacks. And above all, a deep understanding that you're a guest playing by a different set of rules, in a system that's not always easy to understand. Life in the Philippines means you have to get good at adapting. In major cities like Manila, the traffic is legendary. A 10-kilometer trip can easily take an hour or two. It dictates your schedule, your social life, and frankly, your sanity. Beyond traffic, you deal with other realities. Brownouts or power outages are a fact of life. especially during typhoon season or in more rural areas. And while the internet has gotten way better, with fiber becoming more common in cities, it can still be wildly inconsistent elsewhere. For a digital nomad banking on a stable connection, this can cause some serious anxiety. You learn to have backup power, a mobile data hotspot, and a good sense of humor. These aren't just minor inconveniences, they're part of the logistics of daily life here. Healthcare is a huge deal for expats, especially retirees. Here, you'll find a major paradox. In big cities, there are world-class private hospitals with highly skilled, often US-trained doctors. The care can be excellent and much more affordable than in Western countries. However, that's the system. The public healthcare system is underfunded and overburdened, and the quality of care varies dramatically. Outside of major urban centers, getting specialized medical care can be tough. This means if you have a serious or chronic condition, your choice of where to live might depend on being close to a good hospital in Manila or Cebu. You absolutely need solid private health insurance, because while private care is cheaper, a serious medical issue can still wipe you out financially without it. Okay, so I've just painted a picture of traffic jams, paperwork, and power cuts. So why on earth do people still move here? Why do those of us who have dealt with all that choose to stay? Because for every frustrating low, there is an incredible life-affirming high that the travel vlogs can only scratch the surface of. This is the one thing everyone mentions, and for good reason. It's a cliché to say Filipinos are warm and hospitable because that doesn't even begin to cover it. It's more than just being friendly. There's a deep, genuine sense of community here, a focus on personal relationships that often feels lost in a world that's become so transactional. People smile, they laugh a lot, they'll go out of their way to help you, not for a tip, but just because it's the right thing to do. Your neighbors will know your name. The security guard at the local shop will greet you like an old friend. This isn't something you can put in a cost of living index, but for many, it's the single most valuable thing about this country. Life here teaches you to slow down. The rat race, the constant pressure to have more, do more, be more, it all feels a million miles away. Of course, people work hard, but there's a cultural understanding that life is meant to be. You learn to appreciate the small things, a beautiful sunset, a shared meal, a long conversation. There's less focus on what you have and more on who you are. This shift in perspective can be life-changing. You stop sweating the small stuff, partly because you have to, but also because you realize it just doesn't matter as much as you thought it did. Beneath the laid-back exterior, the Philippines has one of Asia's fastest-growing economies. For entrepreneurs, investors, and digital nomads, this creates a seriously dynamic environment. You can feel the energy here. The business process outsourcing industry is huge, the tech startup scene is growing, and there's a real push to improve infrastructure and attract investment. While a dedicated digital nomad visa is a program the government has announced, but not yet fully rolled out as of August 2025, there are other established visa options for long-term stays, like those for retirees and investors. For those with the right skills, there are real opportunities to build something here and be part of a country on the rise. This balancing act, the good and the bad, is something every expat here navigates daily. And everyone's story is different. So, I want to hear from you. If you've moved to the Philippines or are thinking about it, what's the biggest challenge you've faced or fear you have, and what's the biggest, most wonderful surprise you've found? Drop your story in the comments below. Your experience could be the exact advice someone else needs to hear. And if you're getting value from this honest look at expat life, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories from the Philippines. So why are foreigners really moving to the Philippines? What is it that draws people from all over the world to this vibrant archipelago? They come for the dream of paradise, for the promise of endless summer days and a slower pace of life. The lower cost of living, the sunshine, and the hope of finding something different from what they left behind. But when they arrive, they find a reality that is so much more complicated than the dream. They find maddening traffic and bureaucracy that will test their patience to its absolute limits, sometimes on a daily basis. But they also find incredible warmth from the people, a powerful sense of community that welcomes newcomers with open arms, and a chance to live a life with less stress and more meaning, if you're willing to adapt. They discover that the dream isn't a lie, it's just incomplete. There's so much more beneath the surface. The Philippines isn't a perfect paradise that will solve all your problems. No country is, and every place has its own challenges. It's a beautiful, chaotic, challenging, and rewarding place that asks you to be patient, open-minded, and flexible. And to keep your sense of humor, even when things don't go as planned. For those who can embrace the chaos right alongside the beauty, and find joy in the unexpected, it offers a chance to build a truly amazing life. It's not for everyone, and that's okay, but if it's for you, you'll know it deep down, and for those who stay, it will be worth it in ways you never expected.